Absolutely.
Fantastic. So, good evening, Vikram. Welcome to this event, Leaders and Libraries. And thank you so much for accepting the invitation. And I remember when I spoke to you, you were all excited about the concept of book, and you yourself are a voracious reader. And you said this is a fantastic concept you wanted to be part of. Before we get started, I would want to, on record on this channel, thank you because the event's name we came up with called Leaders and Libraries was inspired by you giving me the particular quote that victims have televisions and leaders have libraries. I heard it first time from you, so thank you so much. And I thought this is the best name I could give for this particular event, so I owe it to you, Vikram, completely for this, right? And the noise that is already making and people are loving it and posting on LinkedIn. For all the guests that I've already posted, I think the name is very catchy. So thank you once again. Good evening, everyone. Let me introduce Vikram to all of you. We have yet another guest, Mr. Vikram Pandit, Associate Vice President, Sales and Marketing, India and Asia Pacific for Sandvik. He's been in the space of consulting for many years. He's been in the corporate side of selling products. He has been somebody who has been in the space of understanding markets, expanding markets and business, and straight away impacting bottom line and top line of organizations. In my last many years of my career, have spent a couple of years in the sales. Honestly, I've not seen many salespeople being book readers. So it was very interesting and fascinating to see a salesperson who reads, in fact, takes time to read, right? They could always have the alibi saying, target kitna pressure hai, kitab padne ka kahan time milega? But I found somebody who reads. So Vikram, that's very interesting. So welcome to the event and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's an honor to be with all of you and with your audience. And as I said, during our first meeting, that I see it as a very, very innovative way of. I never felt like there could be something like that, and I was like surprised when you kind of connected with me on LinkedIn. So yes, I'll be very happy to share something which I've learned, and
Lovely.
over a period of so many years now, and I'll be happy to at least inspire some people at least to pick up a book and
Absolutely,
start reading.
absolutely,
I think that
absolutely.
that would be a great success.
Oh, yes, that's the very purpose why we are here for the next 45 minutes is to push and prod one budding leader to go and pick up that one book that he or she might not have picked up for last many months or many years. So let's try doing that. So let's straight away get on to the even with the first question to you, Vikram. So tell me, how did the association and romance with books start? And when did it start? How early was it?
I think I need to go back a little bit in time. It was 1990. I mean, on a serious note, I mean, we all read something or the other, but on a serious note, if I have to say, it was 1999. I was in my engineering,
Mhm.
and one of my seniors, and I must name him. His name is Mr. Romit Kaul, and he was a great lover of books.
Mhm.
I would always see him reading, and
Mhm.
I said, well, that's not for me. Reading is nothing for. I mean, I really I couldn't read too many books, or especially the size and etc. When I would see these big books,
Mhm.
and he said, no, you must, and he kind of inspired me a little bit. And I said, well, finally one day, he he made me to read a book, and I said, well, I'm going to pick up one book, which is the smallest. And the book I picked up, Raji, was the Odessa File by
Uh,
Frederick Forsyth, a kind of a thriller. So that time I didn't know what I was getting into, but I picked up this book. I said, well, this is the smallest one you have, and you know, I'm going to read this book. So I guess that's how my journey started, and since then it has been like I would say a beautiful, amazing learning experience, so to say.
Lovely, lovely.
Never, ever has been a time when book reading has been boring. It's always been a great value addition.
Beautiful, beautiful. So the value addition that you received by reading those books, tell me how did it contribute towards your own growth as a reader to a leader? How did this happen?
Yeah, I like this quote: "Today's reader is tomorrow's leader."
Absolutely.
So, of course, I have a very an opinion about that each one of us needs a script.
Mm.
And most of the time, I call it, you can call it a script of life.
Mm.
This script comes from either you create it,
Mm-hmm.
most of the great leaders do that,
Right.
but most of the people, other people, they take it from the society.
Mm.
It's a ready-made script.
Okay.
It could be like going to an engineering college some years back, couple of decades back. It could be either you're an engineer or a doctor. That was it.
Mm.
There's nothing beyond that, right?
Mm.
Today it has opened up quite a bit, in terms
Yeah.
of what you could become. So, and then I realized that actually, if you have read a lot of books, it could be anything. It could be your, technology base or self-help and whatever,
Mm.
leadership books, books on leadership or things like that. They give you a script.
Beautiful.
They give you a script for life. They start to create a sense of curiosity.
Mm.
And that curiosity actually, it makes you think, it makes you introspect.
Mm.
And that introspection, that's where you sit down and start writing your own script. Otherwise, you know, you're in no man's land. You're walking just because the whole society is
Mm.
moving to a certain direction. I think
Mm.
books gives you direction.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. I like the way you said books give you a script and helps you to write your own script. That's a very nice way of looking at it. I've never thought it from that angle. So it's a very interesting paradigm that you have brought in. So, so many books, right? And great learning, great authors, genres are very many available. Why this lovely book, Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek, that you picked up as the book for the day?
It- well, there are many reasons. Of course, it's a book which is very close to my heart. Uh, Second is sometimes when I read, you read many books, nothing against any author per se, or for that matter. There could be some sections which really hit you hard.
Mm.
It could be even out of 300 pages, there was just one page
Yeah,
that really hit you hard. But there are very few books when every chapter speaks to you,
beautiful.
when every chapter resonates with you, you know?
Mm.
And this is one of those books which, of course, there are other books as well, but but this book really resonated with me. The kind of leadership, uh, I won't say those thoughts were
Mm.
mature,
Mm.
but it, everybody has his own vision of leadership.
Correct.
Leadership is all about how a leader needs to behave in certain
Mm.
conditions, aspects, and things like that. This book brought that you know into reality for me.
Mm.
I could
Mm.
resonate very strongly with every chapter of this book. And I could imagine uh, the person himself, author, because I used to listen to a lot of his videos
Yeah.
before, and and one interesting thing happened. I was on a flight, and the flight got delayed. It was a flight from Singapore to Jakarta, and my flight got delayed. And I was at the airport, and I was going through some of the videos. Maybe I don't remember whether it was YouTube or it was LinkedIn.
Mm. Mm.
And one of the mentors of my brother, he's a very famous life coach,
Mm-hmm.
Gaur Gopal Das.
Oh yeah.
You must have heard. He's a monk,
Yeah.
but
How is it related to you?
my brother's mentor, one of his mentors.
Oh, oh, lovely.
So I happened to see one of his videos, and I said, well, because I knew him, so I thought maybe I can listen to it. And in that book, in that video, he talks about 5 books which really made an impact in his life.
Hmm.
Yes. And actually, one of them was Leaders Eat Last.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Lovely, lovely. A monk
I
talking
was like,
about the book.
yes. And
Beautiful.
I was like, wow, that's interesting. Of
Super.
course, I mean, I have learned a lot from him as well, and
Yeah.
as a leader,
He also writes very well.
very, very well. And then I thought maybe, I think, videos apart, maybe, I should also look at what
Some
Simon
reading.
Simon reads writes also, because I
Yeah,
used to watch a lot of his videos, Simon's videos, some coaching
yeah,
videos.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Superb, superb,
so that's how.
fantastic, fantastic. So let's take a bit of a dive into a couple of powerful concepts that he talks, and I would love to get the audience to hear how these concepts played in your life and how it helped you in your own journey, which could be a great inspiration for the listeners as they see it later. So I'm going to go into the first concept, and he talks about this very powerful uh, theory called the circle of safety. So tell me, how do you see this concept and how have you created this for your teams in your own journey of leadership?
Hmm. It's a very, very, very powerful question, I think, which also makes me understand that how deeply you have read this book. Uh, this is one of my favorites in the book, is the circle of safety. Uh, for me, it comes, the leadership. Sometimes we talk about the position,
Hmm,
we talk about the power.
hmm,
And there was a famous saying that goes by, everybody is looking for power,
hmm.
but nobody's asking for responsibility. You know, so for me, leadership is all about responsibility. And one of the most prime responsibility of a leader is to ensure how he takes care of his people.
Like, hmm,
And I mean, I didn't know about it. As I said, these were all vague ideas in my head. But when he brings this circle of safety, it's it's so profound actually.
hmm,
And then I realized, not only as a professional, but even in my personal life,
hmm.
it's it's so important,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm a father of two kids,
Oh, yes. Hmm,
12 and 10. And actually, I did introspect of my position of being a leader. Yeah, I am the leader.
correct.
And then I realized, what was my first job as a leader
Hmm,
is to ensure to create an environment. So my understanding of circle of safety is, how do I as a leader create an environment? I don't need to do the job for them,
correct.
whether it is office, whether it's my home. I'm not going to do my homework for my kids. I can support at
Hmm,
times.
hmm.
But what I need to do, the first thing to do is to give him an environment
Right.
where he can express his potential.
Hmm,
And the same thing in office. And I keep this to telling my team. I said, my first job as a leader, or whatever you call it, manager, whatever different terminologies, is, I'm going to create an environment for you
hmm.
so that you can express yourself
Correct.
on the field
Correct. Correct.
without a fear that what's going to happen,
Yeah.
you know, in the background or whatever.
Hmm,
So if you're able to free to express yourself,
hmm.
I think that speaks volumes about how strong your circle of safety is within your team.
Correct. Correct.
If they're fearful in expressing themselves,
Hmm,
sometimes my colleague may think that if he could do this, that would be the right thing to do.
hmm.
But here's a fear factor. He wants to be sounding always right,
Right. Yeah.
calling me up, should I do this? Then I as a leader would see that as that I have not created a good sense of this circle of safety for him.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And once you create that circle of safety, the amount of trust that gets built in, right? And people would start doing things for you or for the team because they want to do it, not because you're asking them to do it,
Yes.
right? Many years back, I read a very powerful quotation on leadership that said, uh, "People love to live in a world that they believe they have created." It made
People love.
tremendous. People love to live in a world that they believe they have created.
Mhm.
It made tremendous sense to me, right? If you link to this circle of safety, once a leader creates an environment where people can evolve, develop themselves, and create their own world, they would give their last dollar to the leader and to the team and do anything for them, right? You don't even have to ask them to do it.
Yes.
Beautiful, very nicely articulated. All right, so the title of the book is Leaders Eat Last. So tell me, we would love to hear through you, Vikram. What is Simon trying to tell the readers from this very powerful title itself called Leaders Eat Last? And he says when leaders do that, what they get back is loyalty and hard work as a repayment.
Yeah.
Could you explain this for us?
Well, let me give you an example.
Sure.
Every one of us could
That'll be
relate.
interesting.
And actually, I did contemplate on this particular example.
Mhm.
But I read this concept and I felt, to be honest, my first question was, who eats last in my home?
Okay.
I'm serious, and it was my wife. I
Sure.
need to give that credit to my wife. Every day, every time, again, I'm bringing in the consistency factor. She eats the last.
Okay.
My kids have everything, and if they're really hungry, they like the whatever's cooked, they might even finish it, or we all may finish it, including me.
Correct.
Right? My wife always eats last, and I reflected it in a way when I asked the kids this question, not just in a humorous way, but they were very clear. And I would tell both of them, let's go out and have some fun. It's time to have some great fun. Anyway, there's Corona. There's so much of trouble. Let's move on. But I said, on one condition, I would take you, both of you. And they were like all gaga, and they said yes. I said, mom stays here. I said, yeah, she's like little troublemaker, and I think better let's. They said, no, you don't worry about her. We will handle her.
Right.
I said, no, I don't think so. You can handle. And then they said, then let's cancel the trip. It's better we go with her. We don't want to go without her. And numerous examples like this. What I could feel that even these, and I was tempting them. That's what happens. Competition tempting your people with higher perks, higher salaries. What will make the decision easier for them? To say yes or to say no? Is it when they see what their leaders have done, not what they have been paid or what they were fed?
Correct.
They saw the sacrifice of the leader. For me, that is the foundation.
Beautiful.
Leaders eating last means what? Means the price leadership is to give up your self-interest. That's the sacrifice you need to make.
Absolutely.
That sacrifice becomes the foundation of an everlasting relationship. People sometimes may say, you know what? Corporate world, be ruthless. Be talk about numbers, talk about performance. Boy, I say that's very short-lived. That's a short-term vision. Leaders don't think like that. Leaders do ensure performance. They do ensure numbers because they know who has got the numbers. They will protect them first.
Absolutely.
It's not the numbers. It's who got the numbers.
Yeah. You're very right.
Managers talk about numbers. Leaders talk about who got the numbers. They're more worried about the people.
Yeah. End of the day, it's all about people, right? In an organization, they say lives on 3 P's. The first P is product, the second is process, third is people. And it's by default, all of us know the focus for leaders should be on the people because people create product and process. Product cannot create a process or a people, or a process cannot do the other one, right?
Perfect.
So the focus is always on people because people are the input and output is the results and numbers that you're talking about, right? It's so weird for certain not great leaders to focus on the outcome, but not on the input that is generating the output, right? I think it's a great transition leaders need to have in their own heads. I think leaders eating last makes tremendous sense here, right? It also goes beautifully with this concept, Vikram, which you also have heard many years, that people don't leave organizations, they leave bosses. And they leave bosses because those bosses never ended up eating the last and hence never became leaders. And we also have seen people leaving organizations and following leaders into their organization. When the leader moves to some other company, they पीछे पीछे चला जाता है, मैं आपके साथ काम करना है. And
And
the environment of the organization is just an incidental element for them. They give a damn about that place, but they give a lot of damn about that individual with whom they would want to work, isn't it?
Simon brings this very interesting point.
Uh,
And I wrote something about it recently.
mm,
And many leaders actually wrote me back and said, we never thought leadership in relationship with parenting. It's an awesome concept. I can tell you honestly, you don't really have to dig into too much into your professional life. Just be at home, and then because of Corona, most of us are home at home.
become better leaders.
I'm telling you, it's a powerful experience in itself.
It
All
is.
you need is just keep your windows a little open.
Yeah.
The air come, let the environment come in, and atmosphere come in, and just breathe, get some oxygen actually. And this Simon brings this very important, powerful point, powerful insight. This leader being like a parent.
Mm,
If I'm a good parent, today I'm in 3 BHK, tomorrow I can be in 1 BHK, but my kids will be happy,
correct.
right? Am I right? Yes.
Absolutely.
Today they're wearing Adidas, Nike. Tomorrow I can tell them, you know what, maybe we just go buy with the local one. They said, oh, absolutely fine, absolutely fine.
Mm,
Somebody giving them Nike today, will they go? They won't go. It's not that because they're my kids, but it's that because somebody is a good parent.
correct.
Somebody is a good leader.
Right. You're right.
And I love that, because if you treat your organization as a family and your colleagues as somebody uh, who are dependent on you,
Mm,
you're looking them from the top, as Simon gives his example of the Marines.
correct.
There's Marines on the ground, and then the Marines in the aircraft, in the jet. So they're protecting each other. They're ensuring that all of us together should move forward.
Mm,
And that's the hallmark of the leader, is to collectively, because that's why one beautiful thing which I feel is collective unity is much, much higher than individual excellence.
absolutely.
Leaders, leaders I have seen, powerful leaders, some of them I have observed personally. I
Mm,
had the honor to see them. They shun individual excellence.
mm,
And I could sense it, that they immediately feel it. The moment you start giving your self-talk, they say no.
correct.
Absolutely. They love the collective unity
I
aspect.
celebrated like anything. Absolutely. Beautiful. Beautifully said. Lovely, lovely. So I think parenting and leadership goes very together. And as a parent, you're doing that. As a parent, I'm doing that. I've got a son who's 12. I've got a daughter who's 8.5. I can completely relate to the stage in which you are also, Vikram. Right? Super. So that beautifully takes me to the next question, which Simon says. Very simple. All of us have heard it for many years, and they say you need courage and confidence to do a lot of things. And Simon says courage to do the right thing says is fundamentally important. What would be your advice to the young leaders who are on their journey of growing up? We all had our own journey today. We have reached a point in our career. But a lot of listeners listening to you, Vikram, who are on their own journey, right? What is your input to them from this particular phrase saying courage to do the right thing? Not anything, the right thing.
I have two observations to make here, or two inputs, if I could say that.
Please, please.
Uh, the number one is never go by. I mean, go by the rule. There are rules and regulations that are important in any industry, any
Mm,
profession. You have your rules and regulations.
mm,
But the leader is also the one who knows when to break the rules.
mm,
Again, not for his self-interest. There are leaders who have broken rules for self-interest.
right.
They tweak. There are some examples. I don't want to quote names. There are some
That's
examples
manipulation, right?
that you actually manipulate. You manipulate that how, you know, not every store of Walmart should be my KRA.
Mm.
Give me a full, the lump sum figure of
Correct.
the invoicing could be my KRA, something like that.
Mm.
So they do some tweakings here and there. But a leader is not driven by self-interest, but he breaks certain rules to accommodate, because everything can't be under rules and regulations.
Correct.
That doesn't mean that leader just becomes he just keeps on breaking them every now and then. That's not the point I'm encouraging or saying, but they know where to tweak it. Simon gives a very beautiful example of the aircraft, the passenger aircraft.
Mm.
And there were 3, 4 aircrafts. There was a smoke, he had to go down, but below there were one aircraft, on the top was one more. And then on the right-hand side was the military area where the drills were supposed to happen.
Mm.
The air traffic controller pushed him to that, which was in a zone he was not supposed to go there, but he broke it
Mm.
because the stakes were higher.
Correct.
So the leader has that maturity. So for me, this plays a very key role. And I guess it comes with experience.
Mm.
The maturity, when to do that is the key factor. And one good example I can give you is when I saw one leader, and in his team, there was a guy whose mother was suffering from cancer.
Okay.
And she had insurance from the company
Mm.
under the family plan or whatever you call it. And this fellow,
Mm.
the employee, her son, he ran out of that. He spent all that money. You have some limit
Mm.
in a financial year, and he actually went beyond that.
Okay.
And I saw this leader going on its own. He set up a meeting with HR. He got the insurance guys on board. They were called in. They said, you know what, this is 10 lakhs. So what are the other options? He opened the legal contract, and he went into the nitty-gritties. And there was one line in that contract, one section,
Mm.
which said that under certain, emergency or unprecedented situation,
Mm.
BU head could take such call, where the call was that if only few employees have opted for insurance, so which means I haven't used it or other guys didn't use it, we could put some part of it into that kitty.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
And all of a sudden, this guy gets a 3 lakh worth check from the insurance company. Now, for
Wow.
he didn't ask for it because he felt, whatever company has paid, I've used it, so enough. So he
Mm.
was about to sell his land. I know it personally. He was
Right.
about to sell his land in
Mm-hmm.
his hometown. But his boss stood up, ensured that he got that money till the time it went to the next financial year, then the next cycles came in.
Mm.
This guy, since then, has been with this person, and he has decided wherever this man goes, as you rightly pointed out, he says, I'm going to shift with him.
Yeah, yeah.
And I saw this personally.
It's impacted the life, right? The family, isn't it? That's a huge. And as you rightly said, this needs tremendous courage, right? Because anybody could come and question you. The top management can question you. The legal department can question you. So you're answerable, and you have the guts to say, okay, I did this for a good cause, and there's an intention is clear, not malified, for the benefit of an employee of the team, and he has the courage to do it. Plus, also answer anybody who's going to question him or her. That's tremendous. Yeah, yeah. I think the budding leaders of the current world need to kind of build this. I'm sure they're very courageous, but it becomes all the more important to do this, especially when a lot of distractions around. There can be pull and push from all sides that could probably mar their clarity to take decisions. In these kind of situations, I think it becomes very, very important to have the courage to do the right thing. Right? I think the defense leaders, the army people, are a classic example of the courage that they show to take the right
Very,
decision. Right?
very rightly said.
Yeah, very. I mean, civilians probably lack it a little bit, but they have it in them.
But as Simon says in that book, start with the why.
Yeah.
So my message or my takeaway or even what I would like to share with the budding leaders would be start with why you are doing it.
Absolutely.
I think that will give them a clear-cut answer. If it's for the employee, for the organization, then you will get the necessary strength. You will get that necessary support. I think management will also buy in when they see what you're talking about is making absolute sense.
You're right. You're right.
You know?
Yeah.
And then it spreads. That's another thing I would love to tell them. Actually, it catches like wildfire, just like a bad thing, a rumor. What is rumor? It's just like that. So the good thing also, what happens when he's talking to top management, he's talking to some HR leaders, and everybody got to know about
Yeah.
that there's a certain section of the policy.
Correct.
And that's the effect. That's when leaders start creating more leaders.
Absolutely. Very rightly said.
It's through their actions.
Beautiful. Lovely. Lovely. Yes, so courage is so important. Uh, this takes me to the next question, which is a little abstract in my head. So I'm going to seek your help in giving me clarity, right? He talks about this concept called modern abstraction and managing abstraction. Why is it so important in the current world?
Well, my understanding is pretty simple on it, to be
Mhm.
honest.
Well,
Maybe
that makes my job easy. I'll
we
get
may have to
clarity
check
from
with
you.
Simon. So uh, I think my take on it is, and maybe what Simon means is, abstract means numbers.
Hmm.
He's talking about numbers. So you know, so leaders, as I said, it's people before the project, people before numbers. I think that is something which is very important. And leaders, the difference between a manager and the leader is manager puts, it's not that they kind of hate managers, hate
Hmm.
people and they love numbers, nothing like that.
Hmm.
Both of them love both.
Hmm.
But here's a slight difference what I felt
Hmm.
and observed in my professional life is a manager puts premium on numbers.
Hmm.
Leaders put premium on people.
Hmm.
It's a very subtle difference, and that's where they kind of differentiate
Hmm.
in terms of when you talk about, you know, so the abstract doesn't no longer stays abstract actually,
Lovely.
because it gains shape, it gains momentum, because you
Hmm.
start putting premium on people
Hmm.
who are actually going to get those numbers for you.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So that would be my understanding of
Understanding. Yeah,
this
very
question.
much, very much. Because as you rightly said, the numbers are coming through these people, right? So the abstract thing is an outcome of the people on whom the leaders need to focus upon, right? Unfortunately, you being in the sales side, unfortunately, I'm saying about the sales as a profession, right? Somewhere I've seen a lot of sales leaders giving a lot of focus to numbers, right? And I've had my own battle while leading learning and development for a couple of organizations. I would have always succeeded in designing an intervention and delivering it for any function of the organization, but I always had my own battle with the sales team, because getting the head of sales to say yes, that you need to invest time on your people, get them to a classroom over a period of so many months. He say, my god, 3 days a month into 4 months, that's 12 days on the field. 12 days they can get so much of money for me. So it was always a challenge, and I had this with my earlier organizations also. I would always tell them, kind of pulling them, saying, guys, move beyond numbers, look at the number of people you have. That's also important sometimes. So I've always had this and I've been in sales, so I can relate to what they go through. Very less number of salespeople kind of have the shift in their head of focusing on their sales force in developing them, and they believe the numbers will automatically come in.
I agree with you, because sales is a pressure job. It
Mm.
it it has its own fun, but it has its own on serious pressure, and that builds up as stress if the market conditions are not good. Uh, maybe one thing which I would like to highlight here, which even Simon brings it up, is that's where the leader's role of creating that environment.
Mm.
When this guy is going out and fighting,
Mm.
all he needs to tell him is, you don't look behind. Can you imagine a soldier?
Mm.
Let me give you an example. Imagine a soldier who's about to go and fight a bloody war,
Mm.
big battle,
Mm.
and he's riding on the horse or whatever, or tank, and after every 5 minutes or half a minute, he's looking behind.
Ah.
Every 5 minutes, he's looking behind just to see if everything is well, you know, on his part,
Mm.
in his area.
Mm.
Imagine a sales guy
Mm.
going out on the battlefield, going and
Mm.
talking to clients, this and that, and he
Mm.
doesn't know what the hell is going on in his own company.
Correct.
Is his job secure?
Definitely not.
I'm about to be kicked out.
Yeah.
कुछ politics हो गया तो
Correct.
how will he perform? So what does a leader do
Mm.
is he takes care of this background. He
Mm.
takes care of this internal environment.
Correct.
What are we talking about? We're talking about environment of trust.
Mm.
Creating about environment of empathy. We are creating about environment of culture, team culture,
Mm.
open communication.
Mm.
That's what leader takes care of.
Correct.
Because these are the internal factors that also matter a lot.
Absolutely. It gives you
External
the
factors, you
confidence
can't
to
do
go
much.
fight the battle, right?
Yes, yeah. External factors, you can't do much. Government policies,
Yeah.
competition activity.
Yeah.
I mean, if a competition opens a shop or opens a factory or a company in India, what can I do about it?
Correct.
Nothing. I can't stop it. Market situation. COVID came. What is it about? It's an external condition.
Correct.
Now, how does the inside, the circle of safety, has been really challenged
Mm.
since last 6 months?
You're right.
I have seen companies literally,
Mm.
literally pushing people to come to office.
Mm.
Now, if it's a pandemic situation in Mumbai,
Mm.
one company, can't take the name, but they're literally pushing employees to come. What happens? Employee resigns on its own.
Right.
They have used it as a ploy. They're calling pregnant women, ladies,
Oh.
boys. What do you think she's going to do?
Correct.
Fine.
You're right.
And you can be on that moral chair, so to say, and say, what? We didn't kick out any people. Look at our culture. No,
Now, you
it's much,
created an
much.
environment in which people automatically left, right? Sure, sure. Ah, you're right. So true, so true.
Simon gives this beautiful example.
Mm, mm.
And maybe if you give the opportunity, I would like to quote that.
Please, please.
The story of 3M. Everybody uses them, and every table has
Yes.
3M.
Oh yes, I have on mine. It's all pasted there. You see,
Sorry, you can't see my chart behind. It is all 3M.
yeah, you see that?
Yes,
Posted
yes,
on
I can see. Yeah.
3M.
So, Spencer Silver, the scientist at 3M Lab, was working on a project to
Mm,
make one of the very, very strong glues in
mm,
the industry. And while working for years, he actually made a glue. And hold behold, massive failure because it wasn't strong enough.
mm,
Now, what normally you do in a culture which is not collaborative, which is not
mm,
cooperative, which is not trustworthy, what do? You roll it under the carpet. You manage the things. You don't share your failures. But 3M doesn't do that.
mm,
3M fosters this environment of empathy and trust.
mm,
And Spencer went and gave a full-fledged presentation on how he failed and
mm,
what has he created.
mm.
After couple of years back, later,
Later.
sorry, uh, there was another scientist at 3M. His name was Art Frey,
Mm-hmm.
and he was actually in a church, and his bookmark would was from of the Bible would fall down time and again. He was a little frustrated. He said, "Wish we had something, no, some softer glue which I could just use it." And then he realized that, yeah, in the office we were discussing about the failure the of the other scientist,
Mm.
and that's how 3M came into being. So
Right.
from a failure, you have one of the most used product daily, in a professional life, if I had to say, in an office environment, this would
Yes.
be one of the most used product.
Yeah. I remember my days when we used to have that Fevicol glue or some other glue. We would take it, put it behind the paper, then just paste it and stick it. My God, so cumbersome. Then you go and wash your hand, it gets sticky, and and look at this, it's just so easy. Pull it off, paste it back, pull it
Place
off,
it back.
paste it
Yeah.
back. It's
Out of
just
failure, out of failure,
yeah, yeah.
absolute failure. It wasn't a small failure. He wanted to make a very strong glue. His idea was not made to make a little powerful or very strong glue. So it
Right,
was an absolute failure in one sense. But
right,
look at how a
oh
failure could
yes,
result
yes,
into.
yes. In fact, it went on to become that not many know that 3M's primary revenue is not this, and their main job is not this. This is just one of the product, and people relate them only by this product. Not many know the other magnificent work that 3M does, isn't it? A great organization of innovation and creativity. And they just work on innovation labs through the year. Marvelous organization. Lovely. Thank you so much for bringing that bit. It's very interesting conversation, and I'm going to take this to this uh, very next powerful question, which says, "So goes the leader, so goes the culture." And we've been talking about this for the last 35 minutes. Do culture of an organization build a leader, or leaders in an organization build a culture? Is my first question to you, pulling from what Simon says. And how did you do that, Vikram, in your organization, in your own sales team?
I think the first question is pretty. I think we know the answer. I think that the leaders create the culture. There's absolutely no doubt. It all starts from the top. He leads by example, and that is something which is very important.
Mm,
So many principles. All he does is he sets the example by himself.
mm,
He leads by example. Whether so many examples Simon quotes in this book. It could be
correct.
Marines to the people who would take care of the submarines,
Yeah.
CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. The culture is fostered. Uh, it could be a culture of innovation. It could be culture of you know destruction also. It
Mm,
could be that also. A culture of insecurity.
mm.
Imagine a leader being insecure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen it. Leader being insecure. It's 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 disastrous effect on the morale of the team.
Absolutely.
So I would say the leaders definitely, yes, absolutely. So that is, I would say, that's why I would say that is their major responsibility,
Mm, mm,
is to create that. The circle of safety is all linked with that. What is circle of safety? It's just the culture, the environment.
mm.
So how strong you could make that circle, how big you can make.
Yeah.
Managers make it small, so small that
Mm.
only he can fit in.
Right,
Once
right.
everybody's out.
Mm,
Leaders enlarge that.
mm,
Even I've seen very powerful leaders, and I hats off. That's something which I would love to emulate.
mm,
They even include their, critics
mm.
in that circle,
Absolutely, absolutely.
because they see that this man has a potential.
Correct, correct.
They see they could use the potential of this person for the betterment of organization, and that puts them in a different league altogether.
Yeah,
And people do observe that. People do observe that.
absolutely. In fact, getting the critics and people who did not do so well for you or think too good for you, keeping instead of keeping them away, getting them together. I think one of the classic lessons that I learned, Vikram, was from this biography of Nelson Mandela. And after he came out of the jail after 27 years during his swearing ceremony, you must have heard about the story, right? The first row of guests was empty for the jailers, the wardens, and others who took care of him in the last 27 years. That was a classic learning. When I read this first time, I said, how could a human being rise up to this level? It needs such an exalted level of character to reach that point, right? Not that they bet him, they tortured him, nothing. He was just kept in a solitary confinement for 27 years. Still, I don't think I, you, anybody would have done that. We would have wanted our wives, our children, family to be sitting in the first row. But this was a great lesson that I had.
Yeah, I mean that brings, what maybe not so much covered in this book, but some of the one of the most important aspects, which even he spoke to his bodyguards, who
Mm,
were the black ones, because he bought the previous bodyguards back, you know, and they were white. And he talks about this amazing, one of the most beautiful, which really makes a leader into a legend.
mm.
Nelson Mandela is not a leader,
Yeah,
a legend, right? So so the transition happens when the leader exhibits or expresses the beautiful quality of forgiveness.
correct,
That's that puts him in a different league altogether.
correct.
Again, for that, you need a hell lot of courage.
Yep.
You need very powerful, very strong, very clean character.
Yeah,
And that's why Stephen Covey, in his book, The Speed of Trust, mentions these two things. They're very important for a leader. Otherwise, he says, he can never build trust. Trust is built by only two things. Number one, competence.
mm,
Number two, character.
mm,
You can have a good character, but if you don't have confidence, you still cannot lead.
mm.
And the other way around, today, you see so many big leaders, massive leaders, strongly competent, but weak character. They can't hold. In one of your interviews with one of the L&D leaders,
Yeah.
you quoted the energy and charisma. What was that quote? Could you
Oh, yes. Simon Sinek talks in his book, right? Energy motivates, charisma inspires.
inspire? And if I have to add that, and character holds them back, holds them.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful addition. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's what I feel like. This how leader builds that trust is is of course through his own example, but what shines through is this example of forgiveness.
Super. Super. Beautiful. 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 Thank you so much, Vikram. This was lovely conversation. Thank you for so calm and composed way of answering those questions. A lot of pause between those words. I love the way you speak. I'm hearing you first
Thank you.
time for a long time speaking. So you have a lot of, what do I say? You don't rush through. So it's lovely listening to you. Every
Thank you.
word kind of goes and sits into my head. So with that, I'm going to come to the last question. So tell me, Vikram, with all that experience of yours on a global market, on the Indian market, multiple continents, multiple uh, set of people you've worked with, and this book that has inspired you, what are two laser sharp advices that you would give to the budding leaders, the young minds, laser sharp?
Two laser sharp. Okay. I think if I have to give them two laser sharp insights or my own learnings, that would be two things. That with more power comes more responsibility.
Right.
And that is something which is very, very important.
Mm,
It's not about position, it's not about post. You know, it's it's a very big responsibility. We yearn for these kind of positions of being a leaders because we are focused more on the part of what comes with it.
Yeah, the designations, the
the
roles,
designations, the car you drive, the chauffeurs, the
yeah, the
business
larger
class,
regions you manage.
the hotels, and what they should remember, which even Simon brings in this book, is all this respect, all these I won't say advantages, but these what's that word? All these,
Perks, benefits.
perks. Maybe it could be the right word. All these perks, all this respect, all this is actually not for you. It's for the position.
Yeah,
Because tomorrow you leave the position, you'll travel normal. There will be no, no cars will be sent to you, everything. So don't get too much attached to it, to the
right.
position of that.
So the
Because
first is so the first is with great power comes great responsibility. What is the
yes.
second one?
So the second one is it's a gradual process. I know we are in a world which is really, I think we are the first generation to witness the I generation, the 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. We are the ones, right? Rajiv, the
Kyoji,
Motorola
Kyoji.
phone, the Motorola phone. I was in college. We bought this Motorola phone for, I don't remember, maybe everybody put in some 1,000 or 900 rupees. We bought a second-hand motor, and it had a self ring also. Outgoing was 15 rupees and incoming was 9 rupees. And it had a self ring also. You could just call yourself just like that. So we were so excited that this mobile phone, anybody could reach you, right? So we saw this whole transition, and it happened so fast.
Right.
My humble, whatever humility at my command, I would request my friends, my young friends, the next generation, take it slow. It's a gradual process.
Beautiful.
Don't rush, guys. It's not a race. It's not a race. And the hidden thing in message is also that you can be that leader now.
Mm,
Don't wait for the position.
correct.
That once I become a CEO, and then I will become a leader. No, if you're not leader now, you can't be leader tomorrow.
Right, right. Absolutely. Yeah, if you can't rise up to small occasions, you can never rise up to the larger occasions.
No, never,
Absolutely.
never,
Super,
never.
super. Thank you so much, Vikram. That was a lovely conversation. I will close it with last one question. I hope, how did you enjoy this Leaders and Libraries event?
It's an awesome initiative. It's an amazing initiative. For me, books are the best friends of mankind.
Absolutely.
So you're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
You're doing a fabulous job. Inspiring people to read, to go away from the weapons of mass distraction. You know, this is constructive. This one, the books, they're the
Yes.
best friends. So I guess you're doing an awesome job, and I wish TLE the my best
Thank you.
wishes, the very best, and
Thank you, Vikram.
spread this wonderful message of
Lovely,
reading
lovely,
books.
lovely.
That's how we will grow.
It's so interesting, not that I'm doing a great job, but it just goes back to the books and the power of books, right? And I had so many leaders coming in their first event. I've got already many of them volunteered and they have already been blocking dates and times with me for the next event. It means it's such a strong pull, people want to read, want to pass on the message to help the budding leaders, help the old leaders. So I think it was a great experience for me as well, listening to you the last 45 minutes. Thank you so much, Vikram, for coming in and
It's
sharing
an
your
honor.
experience.
Pleasure.
Looking forward to meet you sometime in person.
Sure. Same here, Rajiv.
Let that happen quickly. Right?
Thank you.
You
Take care.
take care of your family, and be
You
that
too.
parent or the leader that you are always. All right?
No, no, no. I'm also in a learning phase, so thank you. I really appreciate your best
Oh,
wishes.
lovely. Anytime, anytime. Thank you. You have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.